and welcome to Just Onside. It's Monday. We're going to do a little review of a massive game over the weekend or yesterday. But before we do that, Ois, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, thank you. You've 8th past done and dusted in the books. You're still an hour or so away. It's flying, isn't it? Ramadan's flying, as is often the case, unfortunately, with life just passes you by.
I don't know. It's been a long week. It's been a long week for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's these are not monstrous fast, but still, it's I'm a weak man. So yeah, I always struggle, I'm afraid. So,
Yeah.
but all good, all good. Exceptional weekend of football.
Oh yeah. Exceptional weekend for you. Go on. Just the floor's yours. The
We're
floor
gonna
is
have to, yeah,
yours.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was because we did talk about obviously it'd been a massive game for Leeds because we did have the potential to go top of the league. Uh, Not a great result on Saturday by Ipswich. They absolutely thumped Sheffield Wednesday, so they are just not going away at all. So a 6-0 victory for Ipswich, which means that they're very much in the hunt. Uh, and even Southampton didn't play, but they're still in the mix as well. But the game yesterday, it was again, it was squeaky bum time. We were winning 1-0. Wonderful. I don't know whether you've seen the goals, but fantastic goal by Willie Gnonto. Uh, but when you're 1-0, there's always that sort of danger, especially a side like Millwall. They're not a really great footballing side, but there's a physical side. They're decent on set pieces. So I kept on thinking that don't you give me a sucker punch, Millwall, at all. But thankfully, when James scored the second one, absolute euphoria. Great news, and it really is. It's irrespective of what happens. Now, obviously, I will be gutted if we don't go up, but from what we've done, I mean, this run that we're on, 13 game run, 12 wins, one draw. After 26 games, we were 17 points behind Leicester. Fast forward it to 38 games, we're level on points with Leicester. It's been absolutely remarkable. Obviously, it also sort of means that Leicester have been dropping great amount of
Hmm.
points, but what the run that we've had is just been incredible. I think I don't know whether it's I need to probably check up on it again, but in the 13 games, I think we've conceded 3 goals. So it's been outstanding. We've not played unbelievably well, but we're playing very professionally. It's like yesterday as well. It was a very professional performance. We didn't go out and just batter Millwall, but we were very clinical when we had to be. Uh, so I'm very, very happy.
Oh,
Very,
good
very
to hear.
happy.
Good to hear. I mean, someone would think this manager might just know what he's doing, but yeah, let's
Don't
just.
even go there. Don't even go there. I'm still saying a better coach and we'd be home and hosed by now. So it's
Are you at your top of the table?
we're top of the table, but again, it's like if you've
Go
got,
on,
let's
so
say,
you can revel in it. You can say it again. Go on, you
no,
can
no, no,
say it
no.
again.
We're top of the table, but it's the caliber of players that we have. We should have been perhaps many more points than we are at this moment in time. So it sounds awfully unfair on Daniel for what I'm saying, but uh, fair play to Daniel for. At least he's got us to the top of the table. I still will maintain that it's because we've got lots of good players, but
just as
uh,
just as well these podcasts are recorded, because I swear the words that just came out of your mouth were fair play to Daniel Farkas. So just as well we record this stuff. Good stuff. Good.
All right, okay. So that's enough about Leeds. Even though I think it's right that we spend a little bit of time on Leeds because we are top of the
Yes.
table.
Yes.
I'll slip that in again.
We spent enough time on them when they were languishing in 18th and 19th last year. So I think it's only fair. It's only fair.
Right. Okay. Let's talk about an absolute amazing weekend. Not just the one cup game that we're going to talk about or feature, but obviously there was other cup games as well. But really, there's only one game that we really need to sort of dedicate time to. That incredible game. I mean, I'm gutted that Liverpool were on the wrong end of a 4-3 scoreline. But what a game! What a game! I mean, talk us through the game, the excitement, the euphoria, the drama. Wow, that is again English football at its finest.
Yeah, absolutely. It was pretty incredible, wasn't it, Ayub? The game. Look, I mean, we both felt Liverpool would have just enough, and that's what it looked like it was going to be when the game was drifting in that second half. I mean, from a Liverpool perspective, I mean, let's get down to it. They were absolutely dominant for the most part in that second half. The game got a little open. It wasn't as though a United goal would have been totally out of the blue. I've seen more dominant, more one-sided games, but it felt like Liverpool were very much in control. had great situations, not necessarily great opportunities, but great situations where they simply just weren't making the right decision. 5-on-2s, 4-on-3s, simply just not enough. I want to say cutting edge, but just not enough. It's such a cliche, but not making the right pass with the right speed, with the right touch to just put somebody in through on goal to kind of finish the game off. It looked like Liverpool had the legs. Liverpool were dominant, knocking it around in the middle of the park. United were just a yard short, 2 yards short at all times. So that was that. But look, I mean, incredible from a United perspective in terms of the ability, the fact that they've turned that around. I mean, you always need a little bit of luck. I thought Anthony goal was a little bit of luck, swings on his right foot just past. I think Kwanzaa it was. And then, of course, the game's anybody's. Rashford had that great opportunity there afterwards as well in regulation time. And then extra time, again, Liverpool take the advantage. And then Manchester United pegged them back again after Nunes loses the ball in the middle of the park. Pretty criminal, to be fair, at that stage of proceedings. You're taught, aren't you, in terms of when the game's drifted to that extent, you don't need to be trying any passes through the middle and always say like go around the side. So pretty poor from his part. United incredible in terms of just bringing them back. And just as you thought, this is heading for penalties. Again, Liverpool lose the ball up high and a great counter-attack. I thought, to be fair, I think it was young Bradley. He defended the situation, the 2-on-1 pretty well, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Give him credit. I mean, he managed that situation as good as he could. But give the young boy some credit. I mean, he's taken a decent first touch and then put it in the one spot that he had to make that into a goal, and he absolutely puts it in off the post. Bit unfortunate to get a red card. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, yes, the rules are the rules, but I mean, he scored a winner for his team in the very last minute against their rivals. Is he ever going to score? I mean, he probably will, but is he ever going to score a more important goal in his career? Who knows? I mean, you really don't know up to that in terms of what the future holds. So I'm a bit disappointed that that's what it came down to, the fact that he had to miss the last couple of minutes. But incredible. I think Liverpool will be very disappointed. They had the opportunity to kind of go on. They would have faced, I guess, Coventry appears in the semi-finals. So pretty much you would think plain sailing for Man United, or it would have been Liverpool into the final, you would imagine, although Coventry had their own great result at Wolves, I believe. But yeah, I mean, from a United perspective, huge, turned it around, needed that win. You can imagine what the faithful would have thought, would have probably voiced their frustrations as they were doing down south at Stamford Bridge during the FA Cup quarterfinals. But yeah, look, from a United perspective, well done to them. They dug in. They were second best, I thought, at least in the second half for sure, significantly second best. I thought first half, they definitely were in the ascendancy for the most part up until Liverpool hit them with the 1-2 sucker punch with McAllister and Salah. But yeah, look, United have turned that around. Good on them. What it means for them moving forward, I think it means a final berth. I think there is that. You would think that they'll get through Coventry, but just in terms of, do I still see cause for optimism? I think from the fact that they've dug in, absolutely nothing wrong with that. You've got to dig some results out every now and again. Still, I thought they were, for the most part, very much inferior as that second half drifted on. And Liverpool very much in the ascendancy. Liverpool will be kicking themselves. United, lots to love, lots to enjoy in the sense of the fact that they've got an opportunity to win a trophy. I mean, you'd think, like I said, they're going to get to the final. They'll have difficult opponents irrespective, whoever comes out of Chelsea and Man City. But just what it means for them in terms of moving forward, perhaps this isn't the day to discuss that. It's been a great result for them. But yeah, on they go, and they'll have a great opportunity to pick up and probably get back-to-back FA Cup finals, right? Because they did play City last year in the FA Cup final, didn't they? Yeah, absolutely. So let's see how that pans out. But yeah, incredible game, great atmosphere. It looked like Liverpool were heading for a famous victory. Klopp, again, the fairy tale would have continued in terms of domestic competitions. They would have again fancied themselves to get to the finals. So good on Man United, but again, there wasn't that much that I saw which told me that, all right, actually, if I see a bit more of this from United or a bit more of that, there's very much signs and cause for optimism and progress, simply because they were heading for defeat up until the very last knockings. And then you give them credit for all the other intangibles, for digging in, not giving up, so to speak, and all the rest of it. Again, Liverpool, they're absolutely kicking themselves. I mean, you might argue, look, they're missing some key players, some players just coming back to fitness. Obviously, you've still got Trent missing and all the rest of you. But when you've got those situations that they did in the second half, you've got to be a little better quality in terms of decision making, because they had United absolutely on the ropes in the second half, very much inferior to Liverpool. I thought they were. So yeah, let's see what the semi-finals bring. But incredible game, great entertainment. Thoroughly enjoyed it, to be honest. Watching it with a whole bunch of Liverpool fans and United fans, to be honest.
Oh, right, okay. Well, it was a really exciting game. I mean, I think if you're a neutral, it would have been a fantastic game. I think if you're a follower of each team, you would have had your highs and lows. Obviously, in the end, for the Liverpool fans, it was a real sort of gut punch, uh, and it's inexcusable. In the end, I was quite annoyed and angry with Liverpool because you sort of made the point that they had some wonderful opportunities, and unfortunately, there are players. I mean, Gakpo is, to me, he's he's not hit the standards that I would have expected. I mean, he's a 40 million pound player, so he's not cheap. And the 5-on-2 that you talk about, that to me just embodies uh, the problem some of the Liverpool players have, that they don't have the intelligence, the game smarts. If that's Diego Jota, he will make the right pass. I was thinking at the time that as they were breaking, there was too many options. And I think, do you know, when you have a player that perhaps doesn't have that clarity of thought, when you have too many options, it just confuses you. Whereas a player like Jota, he processes it very, very quickly, and he would have made the right pass. I mean, maybe occasionally he might have made the wrong pass, but on the whole, he's a very smart player. That was just, and I said at the time, I was watching with my boys, and I sort of said at the time that maybe this might be a pivotal moment, that it's an opportunity missed, and it may be something that will come back and haunt them, and it did. And on top of that, you talked about Nunes. It was again, that's just I don't know what it is. I mean, it's stupidity, absolute stupidity. I mean, it's somebody that, I mean, I've criticized Nunes many times for he's not got the greatest footballing brain. He's an instinctive player, and that maybe again it typified that he was trying something stupid. It's high risk, and 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 it was. I mean, his reaction sort of said it all. I mean, he's obviously tried to chase back Rashford, good finish, but it it was just stupid. It was something that at that stage there was only one winner in the game. I honestly did not think that Man United they were huffing and they were puffing, but I just didn't think they were going to come back. I did think when they equalised in normal time that they were going to come back. It just looked inevitable that maybe they are going to sort of get a goal back. But when Elliott scored, I just thought that's game over. I really did not think they were going to come back from that. So it was awful from Nunes. And then even the last goal, again, it was a mistake. Not a mistake. Well, I suppose it was a mistake by Elliott. And you were right. Bradley was magnificent. I think that is, as a defender, it's always hard because do you commit or do you hold? And I think he did fantastically well. He did as well as he could have done. My criticism was of Kelleher. That wasn't a beautifully struck. Yes, it was in the corner, but I think Kelleher should have saved that. I think he should have done much better than that. So it was it was a double whammy. A, I think the defeat, and B, you sort of think, well, should Kelleher have saved it? So as a Liverpool fan, I'd be absolutely irate. Uh, it was a game there for the taking, and that's typical United. They've played how many times have they sort of been quite average, and they've won the game, and that again was a game where they've been pretty mediocre for large parts of the game. They were second best, but they end up winning the game. Now they're through to the final. I don't care how well Coventry played against Wolves. Man United are through to the final, so they might as well book a trip to Wembley. They will play obviously a better side than Coventry in the final. So if it's Chelsea, they've got a chance. If it's Man City, I just don't think they've got a chance. So they will be hoping Chelsea turn over Man City. But from a Liverpool perspective, disappointing, bitterly disappointing, and Klopp will be looking back, thinking, "My word, that was there for the taking. We had the game, but we blew it."
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there are games they've won this season where perhaps they have rescued something out of the fire. So, I mean, look, sometimes the coin's going to fall on the other side, isn't it? Are you where you're very much in the ascendancy and it's not going to quite go your way. So you're right, they will be kicking themselves. But again, they've rescued a few games this season as well. You mentioned about trip to Wembley, but the semi-finals also played at
Yeah,
Wembley,
yeah,
so they'll
yeah,
be going
yeah,
Wembley. They'll be going Wembley regardless. But
yeah.
you made a good point about the obviously the opposition that they'll be playing in the final if it comes to it, Chelsea or Man City. I mean, in a one-off game, anything can happen. You're right; they would prefer to play Chelsea for sure. But I think it's just interesting because after the game, I don't know if you saw, but there was a little bit of a not a spat, but a playful jibe between Carragher and Rio, who've been at it this season, haven't they? A few times. Carragher talking about how the fact that Man United will lose to City in the final, and the fact that winning perhaps keeps Ten Hag in a job, which I thought. Again, as much as we might be able to say it, but we're just amateurs, are you? But I think when you're in the footballing world and professional kind of ranks and in the media, as Jamie Carragher is, I don't think you need to speak about how perhaps keeping a manager on would be detrimental to said club. I think that's a little unbecoming, if you ask me. So the fact that he was hinting at that, I thought was a little below the belt from Jamie Carragher. But look, in the end, it's true. If Man United are successful in the FA Cup, that may give some of the owners cause for thought or pause for thought. You and I think differently. We think the decision's perhaps already been made, and I still think that to be the case, irrespective of if he lands the FA Cup. Not so much the decision's been made. I think they are going to make a change. But yeah, look, from a United perspective, you spoke about decision making, but similar. If you look at, I think it was Garnacho who slipped in. I believe Diallo for the winner. Look at how he kind of delayed it to the right perfect moment, and although Bradley played the situation
Mm.
perfectly, one touch. I see your point about the keeper. I don't want to be too harsh, but you're right. From where he hit it, I would say he's probably going to score 3 times out of 10. And he did that. So give him credit, hit it in off the post, got it in off the post. Slightly, not want to say scuffed effort, but you're right, he didn't hit it
Mm.
by any stretch of the imagination, like with venom or distinct accuracy. It was just it kind of not bobbled a little bit, but just you felt the keeper could have perhaps done a little better. But you talk about decision making, but look at the Rashford goal, right? You've got McTominay for all of his criticisms that many have had of him.
Mm.
He's running through the middle, could go to the
Yeah, yeah.
side, could take a shot. He slips the ball perfectly weighted with minimal backlift into the Rashford stride, so he doesn't have to do anything with it, and just strikes it. Again, small little details, small little things, but I thought it was a cute little pass actually in
Mm.
amongst a little bit of traffic, in amongst the pressure because time is
Mm.
ticking, in amongst the fact that he's also running forward, so he's not got complete control
Mm.
of his body. So I thought that needs to be called out. But yeah, look, those are the things that Liverpool will have to get a little bit better at. It's the one thing that they perhaps without Arnold, I would argue, don't have somebody who can make that perfect decision and put the ball exactly where it needs to be, if that makes sense. So it's just
Mm.
always either a little rushed or a little slow or a little behind someone or, not quite where you need it to be. So they'll be disappointed. It came back to bite them yesterday in a game that they would have felt we should have won. They should have won second half. But again, you've got to give United credit. Hung in. And at Old Trafford, you're perhaps always going to get a moment. They got their moment. Anthony scored 2 goals now in the FA Cup, only 2 goals this season. But who knows? It may well go a long way for them to land a domestic trophy. And then when Arsenal fall 3 points short or 5 points short of the Premier League title, get knocked out in the quarterfinals against Bayern Munich, there'll be the talk about how Man United have had a better season than Arsenal. So here we are again, distinct
Yeah, yeah.
sense of deja vu.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, it's like we've been critical of Man United, and I think rightly so because the club should have higher expectations. But again, you look at where they are in the league. I mean, it's not as if they're 11th, 12th. They're there or thereabouts. I mean, there's still a possibility of a top four finish. They're potentially going to be in a cup final. Well, in fact, they are in a cup final. I mean, as I said, no disrespect to Coventry, but it's if ever there is a easy sort of gimme game, it's going to be against Coventry. So it's if they win a cup, that's an okay season, and it's a team that's hardly sort of played well for a sustained period of time. I mean, as I said, I mean, this was almost, it absolutely epitomizes the way that they've been all season, where they've had games where you've sort of thought, how on earth did they end up winning this game? And this was another example. So he's had a difficult time, but my goodness me, Ten Hag's got a lot of luck on his side. Because if there was any justice and the result was based on performance, they would be sort of mid-table, but they're not. Even this game, again, I mean they've got to the final. So I'm loath to give credit to Man United purely because I don't think they deserve the credit. They were very fortunate, very lucky. I think it was uh, Liverpool. They they the mistakes proved costly. I mean, sometimes you make a mistake, you get away with it. Their mistakes were costly, and they were just not potent enough when they needed to be, and the opportunities were there. As I said, that 5v2. I mean, it reminded me when they played the Arsenal when they had an opportunity as well. I think they broke. And I don't know. I think whether it was Trent Arnold who sort of blazed over the bar or something where, again, they had more numbers when they broke. And this was exactly the same. And I just thought, again, there are key moments when you're playing big sides. There are key moments where you can bury the game, and if you don't, then maybe you perhaps deserve to lose the game because you've not been clinical or ruthless enough. So it's, I mean, thankfully Leeds had won and were top, which meant that the disappointment of the Liverpool result perhaps wasn't as bitter a blow as it would have been if Leeds hadn't got the result.
I think from a Liverpool perspective, they'll be fine. I mean, they'll be disappointed to lose to Man United, but they'll be thinking that they have got an opportunity. Look, they would happily lose every single game in the Europa League if it meant winning the Premier League title. That's the one that they cover. They'd give that Carabao Cup to Chelsea. They want to land that Premier League for Jurgen Klopp, for themselves. The fact that they'd get to win it in another shootout with Man City, perhaps with one more team also, it makes it all the more one more other team in the running, makes it all the more kind of worthy, isn't it? You're all the more valuable in a sense that you've beaten off some stiff competition. So which is where they just fell short. I mean, they are gonna accumulate less points and perhaps win the title than the two times that they fell a point or so short. I mean, which is the incredible thing. I mean, that Liverpool team was an absolute thing of beauty. So look, I think from their perspective, they'll be disappointed, but they'll think, look, perhaps given this recent injury run, they'd actually got through a lot of the critical games unscathed. So the fact that they probably just had one at the back end of that kind of injury run, should I say, they'll probably think we were probably due one in some ways, or they were probably expecting one. So the fact that it happens in domestic cup rather than in the league is perhaps not the worst thing, let's say, from their perspective. Look, they'll go again. They've got Brighton next in a couple of weeks, I believe, in the Premier League on a Sunday, just before their nearest two rivals play one another at the Etihad. So they'll go again. They'll be disappointed, but I think they'll be fine. From a United perspective, again, great opportunity. And I know what you're saying. I don't want to come across too harsh. The playing style still very much what I would say disjointed, perhaps is the word. They've still got some critical injuries, to be fair, which I think about Martinez and one or two others. They've obviously just got Mount back. The one thing they've got, though, Ayub, is the ability to score some goals. Going out shows in pretty decent attacking form. Rashford, yes, hit and miss, but still a threat. You still have to account for him. And a few guys chipping in here and there. McTominay from midfield this season. So they're always good for a goal sometimes. Obviously, they're just good to concede a few as well, as you saw with the game as well. So, look, a good game, great for the neutrals, great entertainment for a Sunday night. Liverpool disappointed. United, it was their day. And in the end, the game's about scoring goals, and in the end, you can't say that they didn't deserve it if you score four. Good on you.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to have any bearing on the league game? Because this is twice now. I mean, they've played each other. Liverpool haven't won against Manchester United. So do you think when they play in the league in a few weeks' time that it's that there'll be a slight apprehension? They'll be thinking, well, hang on, we can't seem to crack this Man United side.
Well, I mean, you remember the Anfield. What's your thoughts? I mean, do you think there's some merit to that argument?
After yesterday, I think there probably might be. They're thinking, well, hang on, we've played really, really well. The first game was completely different because it was a rearguard action from Manchester United, and they just couldn't break them down. This was a little bit more open, a little bit more expansive. So they've played Manchester United twice in different ways, or at least Man United's approach has been different, but they've not been able to get the result that they wanted. And I don't know whether this just gives a little lift to Manchester United, uh, because as I said, if I was a Liverpool player, I'd be looking at it and thinking, well, how on earth did we not win this game? Uh, and as I said, if this was just a one-off game, fine. But again, they've played them before, and Man United are probably sort of thinking, well, we haven't quite got the wood over Liverpool, but certainly at the end of the day, I mean, we've played them twice, and they've not got the better of us. So maybe third time it's going to be the same thing.
I think two very different games, though. I mean, when you take the Anfield game, Liverpool, for the most part, battered them. For the most part, I thought that United had one or two moments as well. You'll remember
Yeah,
Garnacho.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But Liverpool were very, very much in the ascendancy. You remember famously the comments of Van Dijk after the game, which Roy Keane took umbrage to. But two very different games. Cup game yesterday, Liverpool off with obviously a number of injuries. United with one or two of their own as well. And in the second half, Liverpool looked like they could score every time they came forward. Again, if they had slightly better decision making. So, from my perspective, Ayub, I think what I would say is, I think, does it have a bearing? I mean, United will feel that they can beat Liverpool. They will feel as though they can beat Liverpool. Like I said, they've not lost them this season. However, I think Liverpool will actually also feel like, right, if we have our best team, I mean, they control that second half so well for the most part. I mean, it got a
Mm.
little open at times, and I think that's Liverpool. To be fair, this season they are not necessarily. I think they've gotten better as the second half of the season's rolled on. McAllister's gotten a little better. Endo's been top class.
Yeah, yeah.
You still find ways sometimes to allow teams to kind of get through them a little too easily. They do trust their two centre backs, one of them who's very young, to just deal with things on the halfway
Mm.
line. Which so every now and again you're going to come a cropper in those situations. But I don't think it has a huge amount of bearing, other than the fact that United won't necessarily feel as though the game's out of their reach. I think they'll feel as though
Mm.
if we acquit ourselves, and look at some of the results over the weekend. Villa failed to win, Spurs failed to win. United will still feel as though top four or fourth spot is still in their reach somewhat. So they'll be hoping that that game means something and that they're still fighting for qualifying for the Champions League through their own means through the Premier League. So they'll still go into it with a lot to play for. But does it have a huge impact? I'm not so sure. I think if Liverpool get a few players back, they'll feel confident. I think if United get one or two of theirs, they'll also go into it with at least uh, optimism in the sense that they've not been spanked by Liverpool as they
Mm.
have in previous years, which can leave an indelible mark. So yeah, I think all to play for. I think it's a tough game. Just think Liverpool will think, look, we had. I mean, there were times that where some of those Liverpool central midfielders had the entire freedom of the middle of the park. I mean, just
Mm.
running through like
Yeah.
you would not believe. There was huge amounts of space on the sides. There was a lot of gaps, a lot of gaps. I think if Liverpool, I mean, if Arsenal, when they go to Old Trafford, get those type of gaps, I would be hoping that they'll be
Yeah.
making some smarter decisions
Yeah.
when they kind of create the opportunities that will invariably come their way. So yeah, no, I don't think so. I think it's a game on its own merit, to be honest.
No, well, I hope not. I hope not because as I said, I'd be extremely disappointed if I was a Liverpool player. I mean, the fans, rightly so, are bitterly disappointed because, as I said, the worst way to lose a game is A, you're better than the opposition, or at least for large parts, you're better than the opposition, and then to be absolutely stung uh, at the fag end of the game by a late winner. I mean, it's a hammer blow. I mean, my lad, who supports Liverpool, he just stormed out. It was he just stormed out. I didn't think he was coming down for iftar. so uh,
I see. I
so
see. I see. He also takes football defeats tough. Just the apple
yeah, yeah,
doesn't fall far from the tree. I
yeah.
see.
But it's the worst. I mean, that's the worst. I think any fan who is worth their salt and committed to the team, I think that's the worst type of defeat, that you've been the better side, and to be sort of done at the last knock-ins uh, is uh, is a hard and bitter pill to swallow, but swallow they must. All right,
Yeah.
okay, so
My nephew was at the game as well at Old Trafford, and he did say to me, I mean, like all Liverpool fans are fatalists. They always believe the worst is going to happen, and all of them were saying, "I knew it. I knew in that second half that we were going to pay for this." And I was thinking, from a neutral's perspective, you're pretty dominant. But I think any game, even the best team in the world against arguably the worst team in the world, if you're only one goal ahead, there's always some funny stuff that can happen, and I think
yeah,
that's the bit where Liverpool will for sure feel disappointed. Like I said, United had started the game really well, so let's not forget that as well. But just in the second half, I mean, it felt like Liverpool could score at any. I mean,
yeah,
there was so much space on that pitch, and you just think to yourself, imagine a De Bruyne or a Foden being afforded
yeah,
that kind of space. I mean, they're gonna take advantage. It's about decisions. I always say when the game gets a little open, you always want the players who can make the best decisions on the ball, like get them on the ball, like an Odegaard.
mm,
Obviously, we trust him at Arsenal. It's because it's about putting the ball where it needs to go, where it needs to be at the right time to give the teammate minimal amount of work to do. Liverpool's always sometimes just feels a little off, whether it's
yeah.
like you said, some of those players in the build-up phase. I mean, Gakpo did okay when he came on. I know you mentioned you want more from him. Fair. I think he did decent in terms
What
of his.
game were you watching? He
No,
was
no, no,
awful.
no, no. But
He
in the
was
sense of
he
no, but
was
in the sense,
shocking.
yeah, but in the sense of he can still link it. Drops into midfield and he links it from what I saw and spreads it wide. But my point is, there's still players like I said, Diaz, even Elliott to some extent. I mean, I know he's got the goal deflected, but you're still not sure that they've got that
Mm,
perfect artistry or that clinical nature that you need in the final third to, like I said, put the ball exactly where it needs to be. Salah's got that. Don't get me wrong. He's shown that this season time and time again and in previous years. But some of these, it happens a little too fast, a little too quick, and just doesn't quite end up where it needs to go. So, yeah, not enough smart decisions in the final third, not enough, like I said, somebody willing to take the onus and make the right calls. But yeah, they'll be disappointed. But United onwards and upwards, they'll say.
yeah, but it was a cracking game. I mean, it's a wonderful spectacle. And just a brief comment on Coventry versus Wolves, and what was the other game? Man City versus who did
Man
they play?
City with
Newcastle,
Newcastle
and
and
then
then Chelsea,
Chelsea.
Leicester.
Yeah, and any
I think, look,
particular comments?
yeah, Coventry, great story, great comeback at the end. I know the managers had a bit of a spat, or Gary O'Neill had a bit of a talking to with Mark Robbins after Mark Robbins celebrated slightly overzealously in the face of a ball boy and what have you. And to be fair, he apologized unreservedly. So I'm going to cut him some slack. But yeah, look, incredible game, incredible finish. This is what the FA Cup's about. Great story. It's probably where the road ends. Although if they do manage to get to the final, Ten Hag's not going to see the end of the season. But no, incredible story. City minimal fuss, couple of deflected strikes from Bernardo Silva. I didn't expect any other result. Newcastle are struggling. We both felt at the start of the season, and maybe it's the right time to articulate it again that this would be Eddie Howe's final season at Newcastle.
It is
Let's
his
see.
final season. He's on
Let,
his way out.
let's
He's not starting as Newcastle manager next season.
let
You heard it here.
yeah, first, yeah, exactly. Let's see how that pans out. And look, Chelsea. I mean, there's issues there, aren't there, at the bridge? I mean, you
Mm.
saw. I mean, I know one of your other lads is a diehard Chelsea fan. I mean, look, it's Chelsea. I don't want to be too harsh. I often think that Chelsea is a club that lacks soul, that lacks feeling, emotion. It's a club that is often derided by other, and not in a mocking way, because United fans will hate Arsenal fans, Liverpool fans, and they'll mock them. Liverpool will mock Arsenal and United. I'm not talking about that. It's just I feel like all fans of other clubs other than Chelsea all feel that Chelsea are like a club where they only came on the map, at least in recent times, because of Abramovich's billions, and they just even this approach under the new ownership regime has left a lot scratching their heads. They've obviously, I mean, the game against Leicester could have gone in a very different direction.
Yeah,
Comical own goals, bit of class from Cole Palmer, but booing your own players, penalty misses, manager coming out feisty afterwards. It just feels unsettled. It feels a complete disconnect, right? Are you
yeah.
in terms of the fans, the club, the hierarchy, and all the rest of it? Will good times come? Perhaps they will. There's nothing to say that they can't. Right now, though, there just seems to be a lack of togetherness, lack of spirit within the whole kind of club infrastructure. They've gotten through. Leicester were down to 10 men, so I always felt they were going to be fine in terms of getting through. But when you're booing your own players, that's never a great sign. And Arsenal have been there. Let's not forget the famous Granit Xhaka and maybe one or two others getting booed. It's a sign that not all is well at your club. United are around
Yeah,
that at times.
absolutely.
But when you talk about the big three right now, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, the one thing they have is top to bottom, they are structured and they are geared to win. They are geared to excel, to compete. Chelsea right now are some way short of that. But again, great opportunity for them. Maybe Pochettino will get a second crack at Wembley against finalists United or Coventry. So he's got to get through City first, of course, but he'll still fancy himself to go against City and get a result. Who knows? By that time, Ayub, we're not sure. Obviously, in terms of the semi-final, games are coming thick and fast for City as well, right? In terms of pressurized games, they've got Real Madrid coming up, and they've got huge games down the stretch of the Premier League. So who knows? Maybe one or two injuries might be picked up as well. That might just tilt the game in Chelsea's favour. So huge opportunity for them. And if there's one manager that needs it, I mean, you just think to yourself, if it's a final between Pochettino and Ten Hag, you might be saying like, who needs this game more? Because I could see that storyline developing. But not all is well at the bridge.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're absolutely right. When your own fans start booing, there's something seriously wrong. But just quickly, it was a wonderful advert for the championship because there was one commentary have obviously got through, and they're about 6th or 7th in the championship, and Leicester were top before we sort of succeeded them. But that's two championship sides who've put on a wonderful show. One obviously did progress, one didn't. And if it weren't for the sending off, I still fancied Chelsea. I think Chelsea just had that little bit of quality more than Leicester. But that sending off really was the death nail. As soon as that man got sent off, there is no way a 10-man Leicester is going to compete with a Premier League side like Chelsea. So excellent FA Cup. All the games had their own dramas. So it was wonderful, wonderful weekend of football. Excellent, great stuff. So, but before we go, I'm just going to slip in some breaking news. Nottingham Forest have had a 4-point deducted. Now, I presume obviously they will appeal, but I've got a feeling that after what happened with Everton, they'll have absolutely made sure that there is no comeback from this 4 points. So, do you think that sort of gives hope to the teams such as Luton and Burnley? Sheffield United, I think, are long gone. But do you think there's a glimmer of hope for Luton or Burnley?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Burnley did their bit this weekend. But absolutely, I mean, Luton currently outside the Premier League relegation zone, with Nottingham Forest being relegated into that final 3 spots. So, let's see if they do appeal. There's still some talks as to whether or not they are going to submit that appeal. I mean, you're absolutely right, Ayub. And this is one of the reasons why you felt it was critical, Burnley, that they got the win this weekend, because we all knew this Nottingham Forest charge was going to be decided upon. We know that there's an Everton second charge that will be discussed and deliberated on. Look, I think that those teams, I mean, you're right, Sheffield United look adrift, but even Burnley, who did look adrift, pick up a big win, get the 4 points. I mean, it's a 7-point swing. Huge weekend for Burnley. Gives them a shot in the arm. I still think they'll struggle just because they are 6 points adrift of safety, 5 plus an inferior goal difference. So I'm counting 6 for the time being. But yeah, look, I think Nottingham Forest, that's a bit of a hammer blow to them, because they're not a team that you feel convinced will get out of this. Obviously, they made the managerial change this season, but I think that does put the cat amongst the pigeons. And look, like I said, if an Everton second charge, whether it's 3 points, 4 points, 5 points, whatever it may be, if that gets initiated as well, then you might have an almighty scrap heading into the final 4 or 5 games, which, if you think about the top end of the table, if you think that there might still be some unfolding storylines at the bottom end, could be interesting. Are you lucky for you? You're not in amongst it this season. You will be. You will be next year. Don't you worry about that.
I mean, that's great because obviously it means that we're in the Premier League. So I'll take that at this
you'll
moment.
take that at this exactly at this moment in time, and then next year you'll be like, we need to sack the manager, sack the board, and all the rest of it. We should be 8th.
But that's something that what we'll do. We'll probably invite George, our resident Burnley fan, because he is buzzing at this moment in time.
We invite him every time Burnley win. He's been on a couple of times.
So we'll do that. In fact, the fact that they have won, the fact that Nottingham Forest have had points deducted, the fact that there is some light at the end of this very dark tunnel that Burnley have been on. Maybe we'll get him on Friday just to sort of see how he feels. He's back to being very optimistic. He said that they've got a nice run of games where he's potentially. He's been saying that all season.
I mean, he had the bless George, love him to bits, but he had the audacity the last time he was on to talk about a run of 5 games, thinking I think we could pick up 9 points from this, and I think he subsequently took them the best part of 18 games to pick up those and said 9 points.
Well, we'll get him on Friday, and he'll talk about this run of games again, where he's quite optimistic. I think he's talking 12 points this time.
Yeah, he might be thinking, oh, Villa drop points, Spurs drop points, top 4 might be in with a shout for him, but for Burnley.
All right. Excellent as always, OS. All right. So before we go, let me ask the audience, as always, to smash a like, share, do all the good stuff. So until the next time, stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you very, very soon. Ta-da.